Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Onto my channel. Today, as you can see from the title, we are going to be starting a book together. I'm excited. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. But I wasn't sure like which book I wanted to do, and procrastination, gets the best of you. But people have been talking about this book. It Ends With Us for quite some time. And I've had it for a while, but I just haven't started it. And I was like, okay, this gives me the perfect opportunity to start the book and get into it with you guys. So I'm excited. I'm excited. So hopefully, you guys can follow along with me, and by the end of this, you can say that you've read the book too, because we're a team, and if I read it, you've read it. I think this is really just a romance novel, but people have been eating this book up, okay? So I honestly plan on just reading until I don't feel like reading anymore, for the first chapter or for the first video, because I don't even know if I'm gonna like this book. So this is kind of like a test run, really. So yeah, we'll see how far I get. Okay, chapter 1. As I sit here with one foot on either side of the ledge, looking down from 12 stories above the streets of Boston, I can't help but think about suicide. Okay, we've gotten deep real quick, okay? Not my own. I like my life enough to want to see it through. I'm more focused on other people, how they ultimately come to the decision to just end their lives. Do they ever regret it? In the moment after letting go and the second before they make impact, there has to be a little bit of remorse in that brief free fall. Do they look at the crowd as it rushes toward them and think, oh crap, that was a bad idea? Somehow, I think not. I think about death a lot, particularly today, considering I just 12 hours earlier gave one of the most epic eulogies the people of Plethora, Maine have ever witnessed. Okay, maybe it wasn't the most epic. It very well could be considered the most disastrous. I guess that would depend on whether you were asking my mother or me. My mother would probably won't speak to me for a solid year after today. Don't get me wrong, the eulogy I delivered wasn't profound enough to make history like the one Brooke Shields delivered at Michael Jackson's funeral, or the one delivered by Steve Jobs' sister, or Pat Tillman's brother, but it was epic in its own way. I was nervous at first. It was the funeral of the prestigious Andrew Bloom, after all, adored mayor of the hometown of Plethora, Maine, owner of the most successful real estate agency within city limits, husband of the highly adored Jenny Bloom, the most revered teacher assistant in all of Plethora, and father of Lily Bloom, the strange girl with the erotic red hair who once fell in love with a homeless guy and brought great shame upon her entire family. Interesting. That would be me. I'm Lily Bloom, and Andrew was my father. As soon as I finished delivering his eulogy, I caught a flight straight back to Boston and hijacked the first roof I could find. Again, not because I'm suicidal. Thank you for clarifying. I had no problems. I had no plans to scale off this roof. I didn't account for how cold it would be up here though. It's not unbearable, but it's not comfortable either. At least I can see the stars. Dead fathers and exasperated roommates and questionable eulogies don't feel so awful when the night sky is clear enough to literally feel the grandeur of the universe. I love it when the sky makes me feel insignificant. I like tonight. Well, let me rephrase that, so this more appropriately reflects my feelings in past tense. I liked tonight, but unfortunately for me, the door just shoved open so hard, I expect the stairwell to split and human out onto the rooftop. The door slams shut again and footsteps move swiftly across the deck. I don't even bother looking up. Whatever it is, more than likely won't even notice me back there straddling the ledge of the left of the door. They came out here in such a hurry, it isn't my fault that they assume they're alone. I sigh quietly, close my eyes, and lean my head against the stucco wall behind me, cursing the universe for ripping this peaceful point to have company. I'd rather it be a female. Same. Sorry, didn't mean to. I'm tough for my size and can probably hold my own in most cases, but I'm too comfortable right now to be on a rooftop alone with a strange man in the middle of the night. I might fear for my safety and feel the need to leave, and I really don't want to leave. As I said before, I'm comfortable. I finally allow my eyes to make the journey to the silhouette leaning over the edge. As luck would have it, he's definitely male. Even leaning over the rail, I can tell he's tall. Broad shoulders create a strong contrast to the fragile way he's holding his head in his hands. I can barely make out the heavy rise and fall of his back as he drags in deep breaths and forces them out when he's done with them. He appears to be on the verge of a breakdown. I contemplate speaking up to let him know he has company, or clearing my throat. Between thinking it and actually doing it, he spins around and kicks one of the patio chairs behind him. I flinch as he screeches across the deck, but being as though he isn't aware he has an audience. The guy doesn't stop with just one kick. He kicks the chair repeatedly, over and over. Rather than give away beneath the blunt force of his foot, all the chair does is go further and further away from him. That chair must be made from marine-grade polymer. I once watched my father back over an outdoor patio table made of marine-grade polymer and practically laughed at him. Dented his bumper, but didn't even put a scratch on the table. This guy must realize he's no match for such a high-quality material because he finally stops kicking the chair. He's now standing over it, his hands clenched and his fist at his sides. To be honest, I'm a little envious. Here this guy is, taking his aggression out on the patio furniture like a champ. He's obviously had a shitty day, as have I. But whereas I keep my aggression pent up until it manifests in the form of passive aggressiveness, this guy actually has an outlet. Same. My outlet used to be gardening. Anytime I was stressed, I'd just go out to the backyard and pull every single weed I could find. But since the day I moved to Boston 2 years ago, I haven't had a backyard or a patio. I don't even have weeds. Maybe I need to invest in a marine-grade polymer patio chair. I stare at the guy a moment longer, wondering if he's ever going to move. He's just standing there, staring down at the chair. His hands aren't in his fist anymore. They're resting on his hips, and I notice for the first time how his shirt doesn't fit him very well around his biceps. It fits him everywhere else, but his arms are huge. He begins fishing around in his pockets until he finds what he's looking for, and in what I'm sure is probably an effort to release even more of his aggression, he lights up a joint. Okay, this book is definitely interesting. I'm 23. I've been through college and have done this same recreational drug a time or two. I'm not going to judge this guy for feeling the need to toke up in private. But that's the thing. He's not in private. He just doesn't know that yet. How does this guy not realize that there's a whole other okay. He takes in a long drag of his joint and starts to turn back towards the ledge. He notices me on exhale. He stops walking the second our eyes meet. His expression holds no shock, nor does it hold amusement when he sees me. He's about 10 feet away, but there's enough light from the stars that I can see his eyes as they slowly drag over my body without revealing a single thought. The guy holds his cards well. His gaze is narrow and his mouth is drawn tight, like a male version of the Mona Lisa. "What's your name?" he asked. Why am I getting giddy? Like nothing's even happened. And now, despite his use of the word please, there are 7 empty chairs up here. Almost 6, I correct, reminding him that he just tried to murder one of them. He doesn't find the humor in my response. When I fail to follow his words, he takes a couple of steps closer. You are a mere 3 inches from falling to your death. I've been through enough of that for one day. He motions for me to get down there again. You're making me nervous, not to mention ruining my high. You guys, I'm into it. I'm hooked. I roll my eyes and swing my legs over. Heaven forbid a joint go to waste. I hop down and wipe my hands across my jeans. Better, I say as I walk towards him. He lets out a rush of air, as if seeing me on the ledge actually had him holding his breath. I pass him to head for the side of the roof with the better view, and as I do so, I can't help but notice how uncomfortably cute he is. No, cute is an insult. This guy is beautiful. Well manicured, smells like money, looks to be several years older than me. His eyes crinkle in the corner as they follow me, and his lips seems to frown, even when they aren't. When I reach the side of the building that overlooks the street, I lean forward and stare down at the cars below, trying not to appear impressed by him. I can tell by his haircut alone that he's the kind of man people are easily impressed by, and I refuse to feed into his ego. Why is she literally me? Not that he's done anything to make me think that he has one, but he is wearing a casual Burberry shirt, and I'm not sure I've ever been on the radar of someone who can casually afford one. I hear footsteps approaching from behind, and then he leans against the railing next to me. Out of the corner of my eye, I watch as he takes another hit of his joint. When he's finished, he offers it to me, but I wave it off. The last thing I need is to be under the influence around this guy. His voice is a drug in itself. I kind of want to hear it again, so I throw a question in his direction. So what did that chair do to make you so angry? And he looks at me, like really looks at me. His eyes meet mine, and he just stares hard, like all my secrets are right there on his face, on my face. I've never seen eyes as dark as his. Maybe I have, but they seem darker when they're attached to such intimidating presence. He doesn't answer my question, but my curiosity isn't easily put to rest. If he's going to force me down from a very peaceful, comfortable ledge, then I expect him to entertain me with answers to my nosy questions. Was it a woman? I inquire. Did she break your heart? He laughs a little with the question. If only my issues were as trivial as matters of the heart. He leans into the wall so that he can face me. What floor do you live on? He licks his fingers and pinches the end of the joint, then puts it back in his pocket. I've never noticed you before. You don't say. That's because I don't live here. I point in the direction of my apartment. See that insurance building? He squints as he looks at the direction I'm pointing. Yeah, I live in the building next to it. It's too short to see from here. It's only 3 stories tall. He's facing me again, resting his elbow on the ledge. If you live over there, why are you here? Your boyfriend live here or something? His comment somehow makes me feel cheap. It was too easy. An amateurish pickup line. From the looks of this guy, I know he has better skills than that. It makes me think he saves the more difficult pickup lines for the women he deems worthy. You have a nice roof, I tell him. He lifts an eyebrow, waiting for more of an explanation. I wanted fresh air, somewhere to think. I pulled up Google Earth and found the closest apartment complex with a decent roof patio. He regards me with a smile. At least you're economical, he says. There's a good quality to have. At least. I nod, because I am economical, but it is good quality to have. Why did you need fresh air? He asked. Because I buried my father today and gave an epically disastrous eulogy, and now I feel like I can't breathe. I face forward again and slowly exhale. Can we just not talk for a little while? He seems a bit relieved that I asked for silence. He leans over the ledge and lets an arm dangle as he stares down at the street. He stays like that for a while, and I stare at him the entire time. He probably knows I'm staring, but he doesn't seem to care. respect for my request for silence, but I'm kind of intrigued. Was it an accident? He shrugs. No one knows. It happened late in the evening. His wife said she was cooking dinner and he told her he was coming up here to take some pictures of the sunset. He was a photographer. They think he was leaning over the ledge to get a good shot of the skyline and he slipped. I look over the ledge wondering how someone could possibly put themselves in a situation where they could fall by accident. But then I remember I was just straddling the ledge on the other side of the roof a few minutes ago. When my sister told me what happened, the only thing I could think about was whether or not he got the shot. I was hoping his camera didn't fall with them, because that would have been a real waste, you know? To die because of your love of photography, but you didn't even get the final shot that cost you your life. His thought makes me laugh. Although, I'm not sure I should have laughed at that. Do you always say exactly what's on your mind? He shrugs. Not to most people. That makes me smile. I like that he doesn't even know me, but for whatever reason, I'm not considered most people to him. He rests his head against the ledge and folds his arms over his chest. Were you born here? I shake my head. No, moved here from Maine after I graduated college. He scrunches up his nose, and it's kind of hot. Watching this guy dressed in his Burberry shirt with his $200 haircut, making silly faces. So you're in Boston purgatory, huh? That gotta suck. What do you mean? I asked him. The corner of his mouth curls up. The tourists treat you like a local. The locals treat you like a tourist. I laughed. Wow, that's a very accurate description. I've been here for 2 months. I'm not even in purgatory yet. So you're doing better than I am. What brought you to Boston? My residency, and my sister lives here. He taps his foot and says, right beneath us actually. Married a tech-savvy Bostonian, and they bought the entire top floor. I look down. The entire top floor. He nods. Lucky bastard to work from home. Doesn't even have to change out of his pajamas to make 7 figures a year. Lucky bastard indeed. What kind of residency? Are you a doctor? He nods. Neurosurgeon. Less than a year left in my residency and then it's official. Stylish, well-spoken, and smart. And smokes pot. If this were an SAT question, I would ask which one didn't belong. Should doctors be smoking weed? He smirks. Probably not. But if we didn't indulge on occasion, there would be a lot more of us taking the leap over these ledges. I can promise you that. He's facing forward again with his chin resting on his arms. His eyes are closed now, and he's enjoying the wind against his face. He doesn't look as intimidating like this. You want to know something that only the locals know? Of course, he says, bringing his attention back to me. I point to the east. See that building? The one with the green roof? He nods. There's a building behind it on Melcher. There's a house on top of the building, like a legit house, built right on the rooftop. You can't see it from the street, and the building is so tall that not many people even know about it. He looks impressed. Really? I nod. I saw it when I was searching Google Earth, so I looked it up. Apparently, a permit was granted for the construction in 1982. How cool would that be, to live in a house on top of a building? You get the whole roof to yourself, he says. I haven't thought of that. If I owned it, I would plant gardens up there. I'd have an outlet. Who lives there, I asked. No one really knows. It's one of the great mysteries of Boston. He laughs and then looks at me inquisitively. What's another great mystery of Boston? Your name. Oh, girl, what are you doing? What are you doing? Your name. As soon as I say it, I slap my hand against my forehead. It sounded like such a cheesy pickup line. The only thing I can do is laugh at myself. Same. He smiles. It's Ryle, he says. Ryle Kincaid. I sigh. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. If somebody knows, if you've read this or something, you can correct me, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Or is it Kincaid? I'm going to say Kincaid. Okay. He smiles. It's Ryle, he says. Ryle Kincaid. I sigh, thinking into myself. That's a really great name. Why do you sound sad about it? Because I'd give anything for a great name. You don't like the name Lily? It's awful. It's the name of a 2-year-old little girl, not a 23-year-old woman. A 2-year-old little girl will have the same name no matter how old she gets. Names aren't something we eventually grow out of a lily bloom. Unfortunately for me, I say, but what makes it even worse is that I absolutely love gardening. I love flowers, plants, growing things. It's my passion. It's always been my dream to open a florist shop, but I'm afraid if I did, people wouldn't think my desire was authentic. They would think I was trying to capitalize off my name and that being a florist isn't really my dream job. Maybe so, he says. But what's that matter? It doesn't, I suppose. I catch myself whispering, "Lily blooms," quietly. I can see him smiling a little bit. It really is a great name for a florist, but I have a master's degree in business. I'd be downgrading, don't you think? I work for the biggest marketing firm in Boston. Owning your own business isn't downgrading, he says. I raise an eyebrow. Unless it flops. He nods in agreement. Unless it flops, he says. So what's your middle name, Lily Bloom? I groan, which makes him perk up. You mean it gets worse? I drop my head in my hands and nod. Rose. I shake my head. Worse. Violet. I wish. And cringe, then mutter. Blossom. There's a moment of silence. Goddamn, he says softly. Yeah, Blossom is my mother's maiden name, and my parents thought it was fate that their last names were synonyms. So of course, when they had me, a flower was their first choice. Your parents must really be assholes. One of them was. My father died this week. He glances at me. Nice try. I'm not falling for that. I'm serious. That's why I came up here tonight. I think I just needed a good cry. He stares at me suspiciously for a moment to make sure I'm not pulling his leg. He doesn't apologize for the blunder. Instead, his eyes grow a little more curious, like his intrigue is actually authentic. Were you close? That's a hard question. I rest my chin on my arms and look down at the street again. I don't know, I say with a shrug. As his daughter, I loved him, but as a human, I hated him. I can feel him watching me for a moment, and then he says, I like that. You're honest. He likes my honesty. I think I might be blushing. We're both quiet again for a while, and then he says, do you ever wish people were more transparent? How so? He picks up a piece of chipped stucco with his thumb until it breaks loose. He flicks it over the ledge. I feel like everyone fakes who they really are when deep down we're all equal amounts of screwed up. Some of us are just better at hiding it than others. Either his eye is setting in or he's just very introspective. Either way, I'm okay with it. My favorite conversations are the ones with no real answers. I don't think being a little guarded is a negative thing. I say, naked truths aren't always pretty. He stares at me for a moment. Naked truths, he repeats. I like that. He turns around and walks to the middle of the rooftop. He adjusts the back on one of the patio loungers behind me and lowers himself on it. It's the kind you lie on. So he pulls his hand above his head and looks up at the sky. I claim the one next to him and adjust it until I'm on the same position as him. Tell me a naked truth, Lily. Pertaining to what? He shrugs. I don't know. Anything you aren't proud of. Something that will make me feel a little less screwed up on the inside. He's staring up at the sky, waiting for me to answer. My eyes follow the line of his jaw and the curves of his cheeks and the outline of his lips. His eyebrows are drawn together in contemplation. I don't understand why, but he seems to need conversation right now. I think about his question and try to find an honest answer. When I come up with one, I look away from him and back up to the sky. My father was abusive. Not to me, to my mother. He would get so angry when they fought, and sometimes he would hit her. When that happened, he would spend the next week or two making up for it. He would do things like buy her flowers or take us out to nice dinner. Sometimes he would buy me stuff because he knew I hated when they fought. When I was a kid, I found myself looking forward to the nights they would fight because I knew if he hit her, the 2 weeks that followed would be great. I pause. I'm not sure I've ever admitted that to myself. most of my life hating him for being such a bad person, but I'm not so sure I'm much better. Maybe we're both bad people. Ryle looks over at me with a thoughtful expression. Lily, he says pointedly, there's no such thing as bad people. We're all just people who sometimes do bad things. I open my mouth to respond, but his words strike me silent. We're all just people who sometimes do bad things. I guess that's true in a way. No one is exclusively bad, nor is anyone exclusively good. Some are just forced to work harder at suppressing the bad. Your turn, I tell him. Based on his reaction, I think he might not want to play his own game. He sighs heavily and runs a hand through his hair. He opens his mouth to speak, but then he clams it shut again. He thinks a bit and then finally speaks. I watched a little boy die tonight. That escalated. His voice is despondent. He was only 5 years old. He and his little brother found a gun in his parents' bedroom. The younger brother was holding it and it went off by accident. My stomach flips. I think this may be a little too much truth for me. There was nothing that could be done by the time he made it to the operating table. Everyone around, nurses, other doctors, they all felt so sorry for the family. Those poor parents, they said. But when I had to walk into the waiting room and tell those parents that their child didn't make it, I didn't feel an ounce of sorrow for them. I wanted them to suffer. I wanted them to feel the weight of their arrogance for keeping a loaded gun within access of 2 innocent children. I wanted them to know that not only did they just lose a child, they just ruined the entire life of one that accidentally pulled the trigger. Jesus Christ, I wasn't prepared for something so heavy. I can't even conceive how a family moves past that. That poor boy's brother, I say. I can't imagine what that's going to do to him, seeing something like that. Ryle flicks something off the knee of his jeans. It'll destroy him for life. That's what it'll do. I turn to my side to face him, lifting my head up onto my hand. Is it hard, seeing things like that every day? He gives his head a slight shake. It should be a lot harder, but the more I'm around death, the more it just becomes a part of life. I'm not sure how I feel about that. He makes eye contact with me again. Give me another one, he says. I feel like mine are a little more twisted than yours. I disagree, but I tell him about the twisted things I did a mere 12 hours ago. My mother asked me 2 days ago if I would deliver the eulogy at my father's funeral today. I told her I didn't feel comfortable, that I might be crying too hard to speak in front of the crowd, but that was a lie. I just didn't want to do it because I feel like eulogies should be delivered by those who respected the deceased, and I didn't much respect my father. Did you do it? I nodded. Yeah, this morning. I stood up and pulled my legs beneath me as I face him. You want to hear it? He smiles. Absolutely. I fold my hands in my lap and inhale a deep breath. I had no idea what to say. About an hour before the funeral, I told my mother I didn't want to do it. She said it was simple and that my father would have wanted me to do it. She said all I had to do was walk up to the podium and say 5 great things about my father. So that's exactly what I did. Ryle lifts up his elbows, appearing even more interested. He can tell by the look on my face that it gets worse. Oh no, Lily, what did you do? Here, let me just reenact it for you. I stand up and walk around to the other side of the chair. I stand tall and act like I'm looking over the same crowded room I was met with this morning. I clear my throat. Hello, my name is Lily Bloom, daughter of the late Andrew Bloom. Thank you for joining us today as we mourn his loss. I wanted to take a moment to honor his life by sharing with you 5 great things about my father. The first thing, I look down at Ryle and shrug. That's it. Savage. He sits up. What do you mean? I take a step. I take a seat on the lounge chair and lie back down. I sit up there for 2 solid minutes without saying another word. There wasn't one great thing I could say about that man, so I just stared silently at the crowd until my mother realized what I was doing and had my uncle remove me from the podium. Ryle tilts his head. Are you kidding me? You gave the anti-eulogy of your own father's funeral. I'm not sure I can. I roll my eyes. Yes, you can. Don't make me feel like the worst person out of the two of us. Tell me the most recent thought you've had that most people would say out loud. Wouldn't say out loud. Oh my god, you guys, I just saw the next line. What the hell? Okay, it's gonna get PG-13, so if you're underage, maybe don't watch this. Sorry. Tell me the most recent thought that you've had that most people wouldn't say out loud. He pulls his hands up behind his head and looks me straight in the eye. I want to F-U-C-K you. You guys, what is going on? This was not what I thought this was gonna be. This is not what I thought this was gonna be. My mouth falls open, then I clam it shut again. I think I might be speechless. He shoots me a look of innocence. You asked for the most recent thought, so I gave it to you. You're beautiful. I'm a guy. If you were into one-night stands, I would take you downstairs to my bedroom, and I would F-U-C-K you. I can't even look at him. His statement makes me feel a multitude of things all at once. Well, I'm not into one-night stands. I figured as much, he says. Your turn. He's so nonchalant. He acts as if he didn't just stun me into silence. I need a minute to regroup after that one, I say with a laugh. I try to think of something with a little shock value, but I can't get over the fact that he just said that out loud. Maybe because he's a neurosurgeon, I never pictured someone so educated throwing around the F word so casually. I gather myself somewhat and then say, okay, since we're on the subject, the first guy I ever had STX with was homeless. What is going on, you guys? He perks up and faces me. Oh, I'm gonna need more of this story. I stretch my arm out and rest my head on it. I grew up in Maine. We lived in a fairly decent neighborhood, but the street behind our house wasn't the best condition. Our backyard buttoned up to a condemned house adjacent to 2 abandoned lots. I became friends with a guy named Atlas who stayed in a condemned house. No one knew he was living there other than me. I used to take him food and clothes and stuff until my father found out. What'd he do? My jaw tightened. I don't know why I brought this up when I still force myself not to think about it on a daily basis. He beat him up. That's as naked as I want to get about that subject. Your turn. He regards me suddenly for a moment as if he knows there's more to that story, but then he breaks eye contact. The thought of marriage repulses me, he says. I'm almost 30 years old and have no desire for a wife. I especially don't want children. The only thing I want out of life is success. Lots of it. But if I admit that out loud to anyone, it makes me sound arrogant. Professional success or social status? He says, both. Anyone can have children. Anyone can get married. But not everyone can be a neurosurgeon. I get a lot of pride out of that. And I don't just want to be a great neurosurgeon. I want to be the best in my field. You're right. It does make you sound arrogant. He smiles. My mother feared I'm wasting my life away because all I do is work. You're a neurosurgeon and your mother is disappointed in you. I laugh, because Lord, that's insane. Are parents ever really happy with their children? Will they ever be good enough? He shakes his head. My children wouldn't be. Not many people have the drive I do, so I'd only be setting them up for failure. That's why I'll never have any. I actually think that's respectable, Ryle. A lot of people refuse to admit they might be too selfish to have children. He shakes his head. Oh, I'm way too selfish to have children. I'm definitely way too selfish to be in a relationship. So how do you avoid it? You just don't date. He cuts his eyes at me and there's a slight grin it's dark because my face is on fire. I can never sleep with someone if I didn't see it going anywhere. I say this out loud, but my words lack conviction when I say it to him. He drags in a long, slow breath, then rolls onto his back. Not that kind of girl, huh? He says with a trace of disappointment in his voice. I match his disappointment. I'm not sure I even want to turn him down if he made a move, but I might have just thwarted. What is that? Thwarted that possibility. If you wouldn't sleep with someone you just met, his eyes meet mine again. Exactly how far would you go? You guys, what's going on? This was supposed to be a romance novel. What is going on? I don't have an answer for that. I roll onto my back because the way he's looking at me makes me want to rethink one-night stands. I'm not necessarily against them, I suppose. I've just never been propositioned for one by someone I would consider it with. Until now, I think. Is he even propositioning me? I've always been terrible at flirting. He reaches out and grabs the edge of my lounge chair, and once with... This is too much, guys. This is too much. I can't do it. Okay, calm down. He reaches out and grabs the edge of my lounge chair, and one swift movement and with very minimal effort, he drags my chair closer to him until it bumps his. My whole body stiffens. He's so close now, I can feel the warmth of his breath cutting through the air. If I were to look at him, his face would be mere inches from mine. I refuse to look at him because he'd probably kiss me, and I know absolutely nothing about this guy other than a couple of naked shoes. But that doesn't weigh on my conscience at all when he rests a heavy hand on my stomach. How far would you go, Lily? His voice is decadent, smooth, and travels straight to my toes. I don't know, I whisper. His fingers begin to crawl toward them on my shirt. He begins to slowly inch it upwards. A slither of my stomach is showing. Oh, Jesus. I whisper, feeling the warmth from his hands as he slides it up my stomach. Against my better judgment, I face him again, and the look in his eyes completely captivates me. He looks hopeful and hungry and completely confident. He sinks his teeth into his bottom lip as his hands begin to tease its way up my skirt. I know he can feel my heart thrashing. Wait, what? What did I just read? What's going on? I know. He can feel my heart thrashing in my chest. Hell, he can possibly hear it. Is this too far? He asked. I don't know where this side of me is coming from, but I shake my head and say, not even close. With a grin, his fingers brush the underneath of my bra, lightly streaking over my skin that is now covered in chills. As soon as my eyelids fall shut, the piercing of a ring rips through the air. His hand stiffens when we both realize it's a phone. His phone. Oh, thank God. Thank God I wasn't ready. I was not ready for that. He drops his forehead to my shoulder. Damn it. I frown when his head slips out from beneath my shirt. He fumbles in his pocket for his phone, standing up and walking several feet away from me to take the call. Dr. Kincaid, he says. He listens intently, his hand gripping the back of his neck. What about Roberts? I'm not even supposed to be on call right now. More silence is followed with, yeah, give me 10 minutes, on my way. He ends the call and slides his hands back in his pocket. When he turns to face me, he looks a little bit disappointed. He points to the door that leads to the stairway. I have to. I nod. It's fine. He considers me for a moment, then holds up a finger. Don't move, he says, reaching for his phone again. He walks closer and holds it up as if he's about to snap a picture. on camera.